But I think the most important key issue is whether Jesus is God, because it's Trinity God.
Yeah.
So the dialogue isn't that we should discuss about this instead of, because ethical, it's not an ethics issue. I mean, we are not talking about kindness.
Yeah.
Because in the Old Testament, God is not so kind. He ordered to kill the whole races. So I don't think it's kindness that we need to talk. I think it's whether we should stress that Jesus is God. I think the Jews does not admit that Jesus is God.
Nor do the Muslims.
Yes.
Right.
So we do this instead.
I think you can start at almost any point and enter into dialogue. There's some starting points that are going to be more successful than other starting points. If you start, for instance, with the truth, let's say, that Jesus is God. I say Jesus is God. Jews say Jesus is not. Muslims say Jesus is not. That ends the dialogue. Yeah, there's nothing else. There's nothing left to talk about. Once you, if that's the only point that you want to make, because, so it's better then to enter into evangelism, because that's really a function of evangelism. If you want to convince other people that Jesus is God, that's an evangelistic motivation, not a dialogue. Because in dialogue, you have to be able to put down, or at least risk, I don't necessarily say put down, but risk those things that are the most precious to you. And if you're not able to do that, it's very difficult for real dialogue, I think, to take place. But let me just address one of the things you said about, let's say, in the Hebrew Scriptures. At least, let me think now. And there's some very violent, things that can be interpreted in violent ways in the New Testament too. Those are there, and you have to deal with those in some way. But what I'm saying is, for Christians, there are passages. Those aren't the only passages. So we have, in a way, we all pick and choose what we're going to emphasize in Scripture. Some people emphasize hell and damnation more. Other people emphasize grace and mercy more. When they read the Bible for their own lives, there's a lot of material there that we can all pick and choose from. And so I'm not saying that what I was talking about this evening in terms of Scripture is the only way to read those particular passages, nor is it the only way to read the whole Bible necessarily. It's difficult to read it through the lens of dialogue. What I'm saying is there are passages, if we look for them, which will encourage us, if we're interested in dialogue, and support us scripturally in engaging with others in dialogue. Yeah.
Elaborate a little bit more what you think of King Cyrus.
Oh, I just think it's very interesting. I like to say, I like to just bring this up. I don't think it's extremely significant. I don't want to say there were two Christs or two Messiahs or something like that, or whatever. But I think it's very interesting for people who have a narrower view of God and God's kingdom or God's people, to raise this up and to just say, here it is, what are you going to do with it? I don't know what you're going to do with it, you know. But here it is. I mean, we gloss over it because we call it this is God's God's anointed. Cyrus was God's anointed. But you read the Vulgate, you know, the Vulgate, the Latin version of the Bible, and it's right there. Cyrus was the Christ of God, and so it challenges us. It's a point of challenge for us to see God and God's people in a broader way, more all-encompassing maybe. Yeah.
I just wanted to pick up on a couple of phrases that you mentioned, pick and choose, and things are there if you look for them, which really seem to put a lot of emphasis on the individual's own choice.
Absolutely.
Rather than suggesting that there's a particular
Yep.
one-way direction within the scripture
Yeah.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
Would that reflect the sort of the overall take of the scripture, that it is, there are messages one way, there are messages the other way, and equally
Yeah.
you could pick up one with the other. There's no sort of wrong or right, as it were.
Well, I don't want really to say that it doesn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it does matter. What we choose, how we choose to interpret Scripture. But the fact is, we do interpret Scripture. Traditions interpret Scripture. Let's say even within Christianity, you have the Eastern Orthodox tradition, you have the Roman Catholic tradition, you have the Protestant tradition with lots of different interpretations of almost everything. We could say, I know, but you know, these are interpretations of great traditions. They aren't individual interpretations. And yet somebody in the past had to make these decisions. One of the things I like to, you don't have a whiteboard here, do you? Or anything. That's okay. Let me just see if I can do it with my hands. But one way that we often see our interpretation of Scripture, we see ourselves. I'll speak for Christians. I'll speak for all Christians. But one of the things that we see understand as Christians is that we are at the end of time. Here's a 2,000-year span from here is the cross, let's say, and here is now. It's 2,000 years, a long time. We are the receptors of this long tradition of Scripture and theological interpretation, and we've received it now. Okay? That's the way we usually look at it, even though we have lots of interpretations. But another way to look at it is this, and we ask, well, why do we just accept what we have here at the end? Because we say the early church determined what these things mean, and they're immutable, right? Okay, I'll accept that if we say that it's a function of the early church. Fine. But let's change for a moment our timeline. Let's change our timeline from 2,000 years here to 20,000 years. This is a 20,000-year timeline now. Where are we in the church? We're right here, where we used to call it the early church. That's where we are. On a 20,000-year timeline, those of us, those Christians here tonight, are part of the early church. And we are, I have to put my arms down here, but we are creating these new interpretations. Just like the very same thing went on in the early church. Who's Jesus? Who's Jesus in relation to God? And what is the Holy Spirit? You know, I mean, we didn't have a Trinitarian doctrine. We didn't really even have a New Testament for 150, 200, 300 years. So this is, and there were still after that people who had very different ideas. Large segments of the church deny the full divinity of Christ. So if we see this on a 20,000-year timeline, we're right here at the beginning. And we are, through our own reading of Scripture, through my contact, through my experiences that the people in that time never had, my living in Hong Kong, my contact with Muslim friends, Jewish friends, Hindu friends, learning from them, my understanding of Scripture is changing. My interpretation of Scripture is changing. And it will become sort of the so-called textus receptus, in a way, that, you know, this stuff that's comes down the pipeline to those who come after me is sort of the accepted interpretation. And so that's how I see everything happening. And I will say that also that we are in a very, very critical moment right now in history in terms of the shaping of religion. And just talking about Christianity in particular. Almost every doctrine, almost every confession, creed that we have from the early church is based on either Latin or Greek thought world. That's not the case anymore. We are being challenged, and not only challenged, but informed in many ways, in new ways, by Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, in ways that we never were before. Those things will shape our understanding of Christian. They will result, I hope, in new creeds, new confessions that will take these insights of these other religions into account. And it's if we see ourselves in this long timeline, this is a natural progression of religion and of Christianity.
Yeah, I was sort of had a little bit that in mind, because in a sense, if one has that choice, and what one thinks, what society thinks is a product or reflection or informed by the times, bearing in mind the current times and the world situation, if there is scope within Scripture for taking choice, then shouldn't we move towards those choices which are more conducive to the kind of response that the world situation seems to demand from us?
But I think if we say, you know, should we or shouldn't we, I think it's more organic than that. I think there are many people who are saying we shouldn't. There are many people who are saying we should. Who knows what will happen? It won't be a committee decision. It will just, somehow we'll get there and we'll find out. But but the opportunities are all around us.
Well, I think that was a wonderful talk, and I'm sure that everybody among the audience, everybody's ideas about religious dialogue and the way of doing the religious dialogue broadened. So join me in thanking Professor Limond.